So now the tracks have been sprayed with Mr. Hobby 76, which is the burnt iron. They've been completely sprayed, both sides. Actually, this one gave out, one of the pins gave out on the track, so I'll have to address that later, but it's not a big deal for right now. The next step is going to be to get a rust wash on these. Other people use track washes like with black grimy stuff, but myself, this is just how I do it. You can use either the dark rust, which is what I use, like the dark AK, or you can use the medium rust. I have tried the Vallejo in like in the past. I've tried the Vallejo wash, but it doesn't seem to give the same effect. It doesn't have the sort of like crusty dryness of the AK paints or the AK washes do. It's usable, but I would kind of use it sort of as a last resort. If it's all you can get, it's like it's available to you, then you could get away with it. But the best stuff, and the one I'm going to use, is the medium rust. And what I do is just thin it with odorless thinner. You can use white spirits also, and obviously regular thinner is fine. It doesn't really make any difference. And when I decant them, like to paint, obviously I don't just do them right out of the bottle. You just use your little dropper, whatever one you have, and if it's for something you're only going to do once, like you just need a little bit, like for these tracks, I'm only going to use the rust wash once just to do these. I like to use, if you can get enough of them, these little like tart little cake tin things, which are pretty much just disposable. You use it once. Sometimes I use them a couple times until basically they're no good anymore and just throw them out. You can also use a bottle cap. I try to stick to water bottle caps because they're clean and it's just water, so it won't really hurt anything. If you use, say, like soda pop bottle caps, what can happen is sometimes there can be like a sugary sort of substance that gets stuck in there, and you definitely don't want that in your wash. So I would stick to, if you're just going to go with the cap method, again, this is because you can just throw these out and they don't cost you anything anyways. They're just garbage. Otherwise you end up with a palette like this, where it's been used so many times, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but if it's something you're going to do just say once, try and put it in something disposable. The brush that I use to put it on is it's just a regular old brush. It's kind of a dirty old brush that it's not important anymore, and I mean, you can use any brush you want. It's not going to really make a difference. So I'll grab some of the medium rust. And it doesn't, it's not like scientifically measured. I would just put in here however much you think you're going to need. It's probably better to put a little bit more in there than you think that you're going to need. Like I've got it at about 1 mil. That's probably good enough to do this set of tracks. I also put down a white piece of paper just so, even though these cutting mats are supposed to be cleaned and everything, I like to put something down so I can get as messy as I want, and it's not really going to make any difference. And then just throw it's just a white sheet of paper, and then I'll add like roughly the same amount of thinner This is just a little more than 1 mil. You probably want, if anything, you probably want a little bit more thinner to wash ratio. You want just a little bit more thinner. So I'll move these out of the way. And you want to just mix them up a little bit. And make sure that make sure you broke the like the tension on the surface so that they mix in there really good. And naturally it's not like painting, so you want it to be uneven, and then you're just gonna take your tracks and I mean, there's nothing about it, just go right over them. Just, you want to try and kind of make it, in my opinion anyways, you kind of want to make it uneven. You want it to sort of build up in some areas, and then other areas you can see there where there's like none in, so that it looks more realistic. You don't want it to be super even. So I'm going to finish painting up or washing down these tracks, and once they're dry I'll come back and see what they look like. So the tracks have been drying for about 24 hours now, which is about how long I like to leave them so that they fully cure, because it's an enamel product. It takes a little longer than your acrylics. And this here is what the results should be, something like this. And at this point, what I do is, which isn't necessary, I don't necessarily do it all the time, it's just kind of, if it's these steel cleated tracks, the ones that are just mainly just completely steel, I use one of these graphite sticks. You can get them pretty cheap. They're on eBay. I'm sure art stores and that carry them. I'm not really sure what the hardness is. There's various hardnesses, and I have like one of each style, but I really don't understand the hardnesses, and every time I look it up I always forget which is the hard and which is the soft, but it really doesn't matter. It's just to give a little impression that the tracks are still steel. So you just go over the tracks like this. You won't really notice anything. You may notice a little bit, but not too much. You just go over it like this, get the edges and that where they're basically it's you're rubbing the contact surfaces. I'm not sure, this isn't too important because it'll probably just get covered up, but I'm not sure if it'll show up at all, if you'll notice any difference. It just gives it a little bit more life. And now that this part is complete, I'll move on to the pigments.